Has your living room been overtaken by blanket forts? Is that a child yelling for another sandwich in the kitchen? Do you wake up each morning to a million questions, half of them being, "What are we doing today?" If so, you may be experiencing the holidays as a parent. Having the kids at home is great, but it can sometimes feel like anything besides a break. So whether you're missing the days of daycare or you're taking the end of this year to reassess your childcare needs, Winnie has everything you need to take the next step. Winnie is a childcare marketplace helping parents find the perfect daycares and preschools. Created by two working mothers frustrated by the time it took to find high-quality childcare, Winnie brings all the important information about nearby programs into one place, so you can easily check out photos, prices, licensing status, availability, and more. You can filter your local options based on your family's needs, and even contact them directly through Winnie to get immediate responses. Plus, it's 100% free. So give yourself a break, at least when it comes to finding the best daycare and preschool for your family. You can view photos, read reviews, and compare programs now at winnie.com. That's WINNIE.com.
Streaming December 12th on Peacock. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are back.
That's hot. Loves it.
For a show-stopping reunion that will prove putting on an opera is anything but simple.
We're really good at this.
One thing's for sure, they won't be upstaged.
Good to have you back. Come on, we've got a show to do.
Paris and Nicole, The Encore, a 3-part reunion special, streaming December 12th, only on Peacock.
And now, a special edition of the Toddcast podcast.
Powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, providing complete financing and mortgage services for residential and small commercial businesses. Visit them at citywidemortgage.ca.
Now, here's your host, Todd Hancock.
This week, a best of the last little while. Music, sports, entertainment. You will hear highlights from 9 recent guests. In sports, an offensive lineman for your BC Lions, a Canadian Olympic volleyball champion, and a fitness pro blending her nursing background with elite bodybuilding. In entertainment, an actress sharing the stage with Hollywood legends, a Gen X expert, and the founder of an addiction recovery program. And you'll hear this week's musical guests in just a sec. A rock guitarist who made a bold career move, a rising star indie singer-songwriter, and an R&B artist that's creating waves. Again, my name is Todd Hancock. Welcome. It's good to have you along. So close to wrapping things up. Our 10th year podcasting. Year 11 starts in January. And for the last couple of years, a big reason why we've been able to continue banging things out is the support of our title sponsor, Citywide Mortgage Services. And without getting into too much detail and boring you, it takes a village to do this podcast. I know that I joke around sometimes and say it's just me, but it goes way deeper than that. There's social media, video production, event promo, and of course, all that costs money. And to have a good friend sponsor the podcast with such a widely known and recognized force in mortgage services, Dara, a good friend, I met him through one of my best buddies, a guy named Jamie. Jamie and I became good buddies in kindergarten. Our kids' kindergarten. You really do hope that you have cool parents when your kids go through school. And thankfully, Jamie's an absolute beauty. So, of course, over time, Dara would, make it to the same parties that I would be at as well. And then one conversation struck up and that Dara should be a sponsor, former C-Fox DJ, of course, me, right? And here we are. Point is, when I renew my mortgage next month, Citywide Mortgage Services are going to bat for me. I trust that Dara and his team, of course, he's an owner in that company. They're going to do everything in their power to make sure that I get the best rate possible for me and my family. And you can do the same thing as well. Talk to Dara. And talking with this guy over the years, they will make it super easy on you from start to finish. It doesn't need to be a headache or a pain in the ass. So big thanks as we get things rolling this week to Citywide Mortgage Services for advertising through the podcast, for watching out for me and my family when the time comes. As mentioned, you get that too. Use my friends, use my network, my community. It goes around like that. All right, so coming up shortly in Stop Me If You've Heard This Before, retired UFC fighter CB Dollaway talks about what still stands out from his first pro fight. That is powered by FKP MMA. Learn self-defense, prepare yourself for the unknown. There's something to be said about being able to protect yourself and those around you. Check out Vancouver's #1 training destination through fkpmma.com. First, let's get to some musical guests in this best of episode, all of whom are powered by the Hawkins Sound Ranch. Get over 20 years experience. Use their state-of-the-art studio. Corey, the owner, he's a been there, done that kind of guy. He has had bands played on terrestrial radio, did the cross-Canada tours, and now he's giving back. It's very cool. Commercial sound on an indie budget. Check them out through the hawkinssoundranch.com. Okay, I want you to picture this. You're in a huge band, multiple #1 songs, sold out arena tours around the world, but the thing is you want out. In early October, Flat Black guitarist Jason Hook jumped a Zoom with us. Of course, you'll know Jason as the former guitarist in Five Finger Death Punch, and he does talk about the decision to leave the band. You'll hear more about that in just a little bit. First, I want you to hear him talking about when he started playing guitar and the band that everyone cites as an overall influence.
Oh, well, I started playing guitar when I was 6.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but it was a very long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
like your parents playing and shit? Like what got you into that? Like was it?
No, honestly,
passed down or?
This is a true story. My next door neighbor rang my doorbell one night at 9:30 p.m. and I opened the door and he goes, "Take these Kiss records. My mom won't let me have them." And and so I closed the door. I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And I just sat there for days and days and days looking at the Kiss records, looking at and listening to the songs. And I was like, it was just overwhelming, you know. I was like, I want to do this. I like the idea of this. This is good. This suits me.
Opening up the live album.
Yeah, exactly.
Footage. Like that.
Well, I thought the music was phenomenal. You know, like that Destroyer record just kicked my ass. I was like, this is fucking powerful and cool. And I love it. I love it.
I do remember as a kid, like I had to hide the record player. I had to hide the fact that I was playing Kiss from my parents.
Yeah. Well, it was scary stuff back then.
Well, even I think about what they were like, oh, it's nights in certain Satan services or whatever the fuck they were saying. Right. Like, really? Right. Come on.
But that's what kids gravitate towards, like something with a little danger, you know?
It's funny, like Kiss almost had like a social media presence before social media even existed, right? Like,
well, look, you don't have to love Kiss. You just have to understand why it worked. That's my, you know, when I said people go, fucking Kiss, are you kidding me? I'm like, you don't have to like Kiss.
Right.
But you definitely can appreciate why it worked, you know?
Yeah, one of the biggest rock bands ever. Arguably one of the biggest.
Oh, yeah. I was at both nights, the final shows in Madison Square Garden. I bought tickets for both nights, fucking spent a bunch of money, stayed in the city for the weekend. It was the best weekend of my whole life. I mean, there was Kiss everywhere. I went to the museums filled with Kiss fans, Starbucks filled with Kiss fans, anywhere. It was like this magical weekend takeover. And I'm sitting in the stands crying my eyes out, watching them. And like, no one can talk to me. I'm like, no. You know, like I'm in it, you know?
Were you like everybody else, like wishing that Peter would be in the final parts and Ace would be in the final part? Like, did you care about that stuff or no?
No. I understand Gene and Paul's perspective.
Yeah.
You know, having sort of being in the same boat as far as having things under control and run professionally and reliably and all that stuff. I understand it from their perspective. And I think that Ace sort of shat the bed right at the very last second with Paul. If there was any hope of that happening, he shat the bed right before it with Paul.
With the release and he started shit talking and stuff?
Yeah, Ace got his nose all bent out of shape because on Howard Stern, they took a shot at Ace and they were laughing. And so Ace
might as well call it piss.
Yeah. Ace got his nose all bent out of shape and started issuing public threats. I'll ruin your career and blah, blah, blah. And Paul calls him up and says, fuck you.
Right.
That's it. You know, you're not coming out for
tough
anything.
to mend that fence.
Enough. like enough, like you're friends, you're not friends. You're speaking, you're doing things together, then you're not. I mean, it's just like everyone just needs to stop.
Yeah.
Those guys, I think those guys sealed their own fate.
Yeah, honestly, for good reason. Kiss is the rock band that most rock musicians will say is one of the bands that made them want to play. The makeup, the mystique. It's the album covers, the songs, the over-the-top concerts, spitting blood and breathing fire. But you really do have to give Jason kudos for stepping back after leaving Five Finger Death Punch, taking stock of his life, his next move. How does he rebound? What does he do? He's a hired gun? Does he do a studio player, join another band, create his own band? But guys like that, the creatives, they're drawn to it, the need to create something new. And Jason has his own home studio in Vegas called the Hideout Studios. He's a great producer. He actually produced Flat Black's debut album called Dark Side of the Brain, an easy top 3 rock album, by the way, of this year. And once you decide on that path, how do you execute, right? Like, how do you move things forward? And just because Jason has a big network, friends and contacts and connections, firing up his new band, Flat Black, is so much work. I mean, it's mind-blowing. First off, of course, the songs need to be there. That's a given. The live show needs to be there. That's a given. You need initiative, drive, determination, all those great words. Head down and grind. Write the songs, write monstrous riffs, find the right people, which is likely the hardest thing to do of the bunch, which brings us back to leaving Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah, at the point where it happened, it was actually, I think it was time,
Yeah.
on both sides. On both sides. I was, there was problems. There were problems, and I'm a leader, and there's a few leaders in that camp, and I felt the urge to, lead without my hands tied behind my back, and so, it was just, it got to a point where it wasn't working for me anymore,
And how much of that was like just looking for a new challenge?
Well, I'm always looking for a new challenge, but the thing is, we work so hard to get to that level of success. It's kind of like, I'm also not delusional. It's that you can't just keep creating that. That's like a once in a lifetime thing. And with that kind of a thing, you would, work very hard and get to that level. And then it's sort of just like on a maintenance program. And so the heavy lifting had already been done. But again, I just reached a point where I sort of want to have control over the things I was doing. And so it was time for me.
We'll take you from one of rock's elite guitarists to a bright indie Canadian R&B artist. Justine Tyrell was a guest early last month. She just released a new song, and her PR team reached out asking if we'd want to have her on as a guest. We've worked with that company lots over the years. It's often how we get some of the musical guests that you hear on this podcast. You've heard and seen Justine lots since COVID. Exclaim on Strombo, getting play on CBC Music and Radio, Virgin Radio, Sirius XM. She's the Canadian national anthem singer at Calgary Stampeders games. She's done some games for the Calgary Flames as well. But yeah, Justine's new album is out in May. She's released a couple songs already off it. She's played over 400 concerts since 2018. And mentioning COVID, she released her debut LP during the pandemic. Something that was hard to do, or was it just more of a need to get the music out to the people kind of thing?
I think it was more the latter. It was more of like, I got to get the music out. And for some reason, it felt almost easier to pull the trigger back then on it. I think because I didn't have anything to compare it to. I didn't think a lot of artists were really putting music out then. So I didn't overthink it. I just figured this is how we're spending quarantine. We're making these songs. Even titling the EP While You Were Sleeping, we made probably 80% of that album after midnight, I'd say, between midnight of a.m.
Right. While you were sleeping.
While you were sleeping. Exactly. It checks out, right? Yeah, we didn't really overthink it. And I had my little quarantine cohort of usually 3 people. And fortunately, we all made music and had the resources to record it. So we just figured, just throw it out there. Less, I don't want to say calculated, but just less thought went into it, I think, than with this piece.
And you got to think the need, the urge to go play an album you just created, pandemic or not, release the music. You got to get it out there. And Justine was open to talking about all sorts of things. We talked about Marvel movies, true crime dramas, opening up for Ashanti and Tom Cochrane concerts, her love of Destiny's Child. We talked a little bit about government grants, growing up to the music of Eagles, the Beatles, Bob Marley. But yeah, lots of music talk, which you would expect, I guess, right? She's been writing songs since she was 7.
I started writing music when I was 7. And back then when I did it, I was doing it just because I found that I loved it and it made me feel good. And then I started really realizing that I loved actually performing and singing and songwriting, probably when I was, say, 12, 13 years old. And then taking it more seriously around 16, I did Canadian Idol, very brief stint. That's a whole other story. And so I'd say kind of from 16 onwards was when I knew I really, really, really wanted to do this. And I had a couple years here and there where I'd take a little bit of a break and try to pivot and whatever. But I'd say 16 onwards, it was just, I knew it's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's so cool. And do you have those songs that you wrote when you were 7, 8, 9? Like, do you still have that? Or you're like,
what's crazy is I remember the lyrics. I mean, I remember the first song that I wrote so vividly, but the lyrics were quietly and softly, you whisper you'll be there for me. Crazy, you left me with a promise you promised me. And then the chorus was keeping your promise to me. Is that too much to ask? Ask, 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 ask. Letting your mind run too free. You forgot about me. Like, what?
As a 7-year-old?
As a 7-year-old. But what I will say, it was very, I think, insightful as to how I would process the world moving forward, where a lot of times I write about my own personal experiences, but a lot of times I'm writing about things that I'm observing, be it with family members at the time and just other relationships close to me. Because I'm like, no one could have hurt me like that at 7. I didn't have no little 7-year-old boyfriend or anything. So I think I was just soaking in stuff that was around me, and my way of processing all of the things in the world was just putting it into song.
Yeah, we'll take you from a rising Canadian R&B artist to a Canadian singer-songwriter over in the UK honing her craft, Elena Erin. Elena's originally from BC, lived off the grid with her parents in a small town in northern BC near the Alaskan border, was homeschooled. And I said, funny, I almost actually homeschooled our kids, and I didn't. I told the reasons why. Basically, like, could we do it? Do I have the patience to teach the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s? Do I have time? Because, of course, I work full-time as well at BCIT. I think that you'll find that to be an interesting part of the interview. Well, all of it is interesting, of course. But we talked about binge-watching shows with Elena, finding inspiration. She runs marathons. She talked and shared a near-death story. We talked about aliens, worst jobs, family life came up. And since Elena's over in London in the UK, soaking up their scene, being part of their scene, going to shows and playing shows and whatnot, what is their scene like?
So I feel in a way that I'm still getting used to it again, because I think during the pandemic, during COVID times, everything got shut down. And from what I can tell, and I hear this is the same in Canada and everywhere, that it's like the whole scene kind of reemerges differently everywhere. So there's a lot of places here that people would say, like, go check this out, go meet these people, all these things. And those people have moved outside of London. Those places have shut, all of that.
Shut down, sure, yeah.
Yeah. But I found making music in New York kind of challenging, because I found, like, especially if you did pop music, most of the people I knew were out in LA, and that kind of was where the scene was, like, all out there. And here I find that there's a lot of people, they, like, have their own kind of, like, sound and music scene going on. So you're able to, like, meet people that are, creating their own thing rather than trying to, like, fit in with, like, a certain style of music, I find.
That's cool. So you're playing shows there too then, right?
I had a show a month and a half ago here. I've been doing single release shows. So as I release a song, because I've been gearing up to like release all the songs on the album. Yeah. So when I release a song, I've been doing a bunch of shows around it. So that's the same thing. I'm going to play a show as well in New York in 2 weeks, and then do another single release show in Canada, in Calgary. Yeah.
And it's cool to hear her talking about London's music scene, hey? As I mentioned, Elena was raised in a small community in northern BC, so how weird is it for her to be living in London now? Well, not really weird, and here's why. She already moved away from home and went to Berklee College of Music, where she says she was a good student.
Finally got into Berklee, and I was like, let me just pitch myself as a songwriter for other artists, because they know they have like a lot of singers there who need songs. So I went into it with the idea of like, oh, I'll write songs for other people. And I think that was like this big opening. Like I arrived there and suddenly it's like, oh, I can write my songs, I can show people, and other people they're helping me edit it, they're helping us move it forward. We're all on the same page here. I can give it to a singer, she's gonna have a producer produce it, she's gonna feature it, it's gonna be like the whole track is coming to fruition. And I think that was my first time of then seeing that fully come to fruition. And that was like I went there in 2013. I was there for 3 years until 2016. And I released my first music in 2016. I moved to New York and started releasing my own songs. And I think around then was like, okay, I'm going to be the artist and I'm going to do this.
Was it the same sort of thing I've heard Neil Diamond say? Like, I wrote songs, people weren't singing them the way that I wanted them to be. Like, it was that sort of thing? Like, I'm writing these songs for people, but it's not turning out the way that I wanted it to turn out.
Completely. I thought like, I'm going to put out music and everybody's going to think it's so good and it's going to be great. And I would like put all my last, like any money I had, any energy I had, anything into like each song, getting it produced, release it. And then it would just kind of like sit there and fall flat.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what's going on? And then do it again and again. And it's actually interesting now, like even looking back, there's certain music that I might look back on and be like, oh yeah, I was still learning in my songwriting and developing. And while I do think that I have developed and improved in certain ways, a lot of it I look back on and I'm like, oh no, this is really well done and this is great. And it still will take off. Like it's just like hasn't been the right timing yet, or you just have to keep doing the same thing. But I think I was always confused, like, how come I think this is so good, and the people I do show it to think it's really good, but it's just like, why is nothing happening?
Toddcast Podcast musical guest visits are powered by the Hawkins Sound Ranch. Use their 20-plus years of experience to record at their state-of-the-art studio. Commercial sound on an indie budget. Visit thehawkinssoundranch.com for more.
Is it true my feelings for you are enough? I'm your man, we make plans, stick to the end and begin again. It takes time for the heart to unwind and to trust again. I've been told the dreams will unfold what's been hiding. You give me the freedom to be who I am. All the times my thoughts were unkind, you were patient. It takes time for the heart to unwind and to love again. I've been told that dreams will unfold what's been hiding. always kiss the shore. My heart is swimming in emotion. Oh, it takes time for the heart to unwind and to love again. I've been told the dreams will unfold what's been hiding. It takes time for the heart to unwind and to love again. I've been told that dreams will unfold what's been hiding. It takes time for the heart to unwind and trust again. I've been told that the dreams will unfold what's been hiding. Is it true? My feelings for you are enough. I'm your man, we make plans, stick to the end and begin again.
The Toddcast podcast is powered by Milano Coffee, bringing you the finest espresso and coffee concepts in the world. Online at milanocoffee.ca. And now, stop me if you've heard this before on the Toddcast podcast.
MMA fight fans will know the name Cybil Dollaway. When he was fighting years back now, he was one of the best in the octagon in the light heavyweight division. Scary, ruthless. You saw Cybil fight in the Ultimate Fighter 7. He was the finalist in that season. He's been wrestling since he was 5. From Ohio, was a state champion wrestler in the 171-pound weight class. He won the JUCO National Championships. He earned All-American status in 2006, wrestling at Arizona State University. Truly a decorated wrestler, an MMA fighter in the UFC till late 2019. A couple of years later, he filed a lawsuit against Endeavor, the parent company of the UFC, alleging that Zuffa violated antitrust laws by engaging in several anti-competitive practices. An interesting conversation with Cybil when he was a guest, as you would expect. We talked a lot about MMA and fighting. John Jones testing positive. When parents should enroll kids in MMA. We talked about the Mayweather-McGregor boxing match. Legalized marijuana came up. So did binge-watching shows. True Grit. Talked about that great movie. And stop me if you've heard this before. Cybil talked about what still stands out from his first pro fight.
I believe 24, 25. I just gotten out of college, and I was actually just kind of training at the gym, doing kickboxing to stay in shape, helping some of the guys get ready for their fights. And my trainers were like, hey, we have a fight this weekend if you're interested in doing it. I hadn't been training that long, but I was like, yeah, let's give it a try, you know. Well, they told me I could make $800 if I won, so I was like, holy shit. I was bringing home like $900 every 2 weeks at my job. So I was like, I can go make $800. And they're like, yeah, you for sure should beat this guy. You know, if you're who we think you are, you should have no trouble with this guy. I went out, picked the guy up, and slammed him, knocked him out 17 seconds. Fight over. And
easiest $800 you've ever made, hey?
Yeah, I was like, hell yeah. Sign me up again.
Stop Me If You've Heard This Before on the Toddcast podcast is powered by FKP MMA, Vancouver's #1 training destination at fkpmma.com. And now, highlighting our next Blue Light Sessions, powered in part by Canadian Club Whiskey. Meet your new cold one. We serve Canadian Club and Ginger ready-to-drink cocktails at all of our live shows. Visit canadianclub.com today.
Another day in this broken state. I'm getting sick of picking up everything that you break. 3 whole years. Never once did you think there isn't progress that we couldn't make. But I did. Yeah, I've situation's getting dire. I'm moving on, but I don't know what I'm running from. How did we get here? It's never been so clear, but I'm trying not to disappear. Now I'm mad almost every day. The stress always building inside my brain. Can somebody see if I'm going insane? Cause it feels like I'm running in circles again. All the things I should have said, should have said. I'm moving on, but I don't know what I'm running from. How did we get here? It's never been so clear, but I'm trying not to disappear. Now I'm starting over. I haven't looked back since mid-November. So I'm moving on, but I don't know what I'm running from. I think I need a reset. Spent far too long getting caught up in your web. If only we could forget. If only we could forget. I'm moving on, but I don't know what I'm running from. How did we get here? It's never been so clear, but I'm trying not to disappear.
There's a little taste of what you can expect from the headliner of our next live show. The band is called Chief State, and a great song for those guys called Team Wiped. We're 10 days away now, as mentioned, they're headlining our next Blue Light sessions at the Blue Light Studio. Beautiful studio. Let me set the scene for you. So it's East Vancouver near Commercial and Hastings. It's a small little studio, holds 60 people rammed. That's what we're capping the night at. It's well lit, it's soft on the senses, a chill vibe overall, and you're right there. The musicians are feet away from where you are. I interview the bands for the first 15-20 minutes of the 45-minute set. You can interview the band as well if you want to ask them the questions, of course, fly at. Cloudsick will open up that night on Friday, December 20th. We're going to play something from those guys later on in this podcast. There are still some tickets, a few tickets left. It's almost sold out. A volume 33 with Chief State and Cloudsick. Eventbrite.ca, Brite, eventbrite.ca for tickets. $20 right now. If you want to gamble and wait for the door, it's $25. I wouldn't advise that. 7 o'clock for the doors. The show starts around 8-ish, something like that. Played you a new song for Quickness. That is called Training a Dog. And here's another strong showing from a veteran Vancouver band. They've been in the trenches for quite some time now. Cool to hear they're continuing down the path. They're usually fairly active in the live scene as well. So keep an eye out on your socials. If you dig that song from those guys, they're probably playing a show pretty quick. Training a Dog by Quickness. All right, so coming up in just a bit, in Listen to This, actress Kate Miller shares what it was like working with legendary Carol Burnett on Broadway. That is powered by Tedco RV Supplies, absolute freaking legends. Langley's trusted destination for RV service repairs. They are ICBC accredited, and they are coming up on year 9 as sponsors. Absolutely key to why we've been able to continue making podcasts over the years. Big, big love to Tamara and everybody there. Find them online through Facebook and on Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies. First, let's get back to more guest highlights in this best of episode and some sporting guests, all of whom are now powered by Sacred Meds. They've jumped back on Canada's best online dispensary for cannabis, psilocybin, and psychedelics by a landslide. Shop at sacredmeds.co, sacredmeds.co. This site is a true mind blower. If you're looking for weed, mushrooms, edibles, vapes, DMT, oils, dabs, CBD, and a whole bunch more, it is mental. Sacredmeds.co. So you heard BC Lions offensive lineman Andrew Pierson on the cast in early October. 6 seasons with the team, as you would expect. We did a deep dive into Piggy with him, best locker room pranks. We talked about realizing potential to go pro, getting ready for other teams, specific players that he needs to watch out for. We talked about beating the odds back in 2018. He was an undrafted free agent, went to training camp and actually made the team. And Andrew talked about his first football memory.
Well, yeah, so I grew up in a hockey family, pretty much a lot of Canadian families in Ontario. So I grew up playing hockey, and I was really good at hockey. And what I found was as I got older and older and I started getting bigger and bigger, I started getting worse and worse at hockey. So I went from like being pretty competitive at AA and AAA to playing single A. And I was like, you know what, I don't really see a future in this. So I was around grade 7 where I started developing a real passion and found that I was pretty good at football. But that being said, like when I went out to the high school team in grade 9, like I don't know if I barely made the team, but I wasn't really an impact player like a lot of players were. So I had to kind of work in grade 9. And I think right around grade 11, grade 12 is when I actually started to see some progress, I would say. And in Ontario, you can do a grade 13 victory lap kind of thing. So that was when I really started to get the offers and some recognition at the time. So I was kind of a late bloomer, I would say, with regards. But talking to a lot of guys, you do find there's a big cohort of individuals that like start football later in their athletic careers. A lot of guys start playing different sports, soccer, something like that, and then they find that there's a couple group of people that start playing minor football in Florida when they're in diapers, but for the most part, there's a large group, especially Canadians, that played a bunch of different sports and then kind of focused in around that high school or even early college, university.
Yeah, I just love talking about the early days with Andrew. He grew up in Kingston, Ontario, of course, a home of the tragically hip. We talked about that. Playing 4 years at Gannon University, made his 9 starts in junior year in 2016. Multiple Division II academic awards, Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference Scholarship Athletic Award. Andrew is a freaking monster. 6'3", 300 pounds. He's trouble for any team he plays against. You'll love his response about being asked which current BC Lions player would he not want to play against.
Oh, that's a really good question. Josh Banks is an absolute dog. Like going against him makes us a lot better because he is someone that can bull rush like anyone, but also has a little bit of finesse. Mm-hmm. Trying to think. Ben Hladek is also someone that's really good. I think he's just a finesse guy, but he's got some speed. Mm-hmm. Betts, and
of course,
and Betts,
of course.
I mean, yeah. His motor is nuts. So
that's what I was going to say. Like speed is truly what it is. Like speed's the killer in the CFL.
Yeah, and like Betts' motor is pretty crazy. So like going against him, especially when I'm doing some like the extra O-line stuff when I'm on the edge and motioning and stuff, like going against him, I'm kind of thinking in my head, like if I can match his motor or his speed and stuff, then like he's putting me in a position where I feel really confident to go against someone in the next time. So those are a couple people on offense. If I was a D lineman, Suk Chung is probably someone that like I would probably, because he can get pretty aggressive and be pretty mean. Like he can get after you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd say our whole line if I was.
Totally right. It's almost like you look at it, you're like, well, like almost every guy.
You don't want to listen, but like the way Stanback's been running this year, like I'm happy he's on our team now. Like the way he can drop his shoulder and toke that thing, like I'm like, you take enough of those hits, you don't really want to come down and hit them as hard as you have been. So but I mean the correct answer is everyone, but there's a couple names that obviously that I would hate.
We'll take you from a BC Lion to a Canadian beach volleyball Olympian. Sarah Pavan jumped to Zoom with us in early October as well. Sarah is straight up a legend. Beach volleyball, former indoor volleyball player. And right after our conversation, she announced that she was retiring from the sport. The Coles notes, Sarah played college volleyball at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, most outstanding player at the 2006 NCAA Division I Women's Tourney. She won the Honda Sport Award in 2007, the Honda Broderick Cup in 06-07, the AVCA National Player of the Year in 2006, three-time Player of the Year at the Big 12 Conference between 2005 and 7. She had a perfect 4.0 GPA, a freaking legend. Part of Canada's women's national volleyball team at the 2010 World Championships in Japan, qualified for the 2016 Summer Olympics, eventually lost to Germany in the quarterfinals, but a taste of Olympic success, which of course is something she's always wanted.
My biggest goal since I was a little kid was to go to the Olympics. And, you know, even though I was on the indoor national team, it wasn't happening. And as I got into my mid-20s, I was like, okay, if I want to make the Olympics happen, I kind of feel like I have to take matters into my own hands. So I just decided to pick up beach to hopefully try to make the Olympics that way, because I didn't think it was going to happen indoor.
That's crazy. And then, so of course were you filtering through the people that you knew playing indoor to be able to team up to do beach, or how did that happen?
The way it works, like if you have an established career indoor, it is very rare that you leave indoor. You know, the opportunities are greater, the money is better, it's a better career path. Like, if you're established indoor, you don't really leave. Let me pause you then,
because so your parents they know your path. What were they saying?
To be completely honest, I didn't stop playing indoor when I played beach. I was still going and taking professional contracts overseas from September until April. And then I would play beach for Canada in my off months. So my main career was still indoor. I didn't want to give it up. So for 6 years, I kind of did that cycle. So my parents were like, yeah, do whatever you need to do to go to the Olympics. But they knew I was still playing indoor. They were completely on board and supportive of me leaving the indoor national team to try to make this happen. Yeah, they were completely supportive.
I mean, I think it's pretty cool when you get to hear people talking about their dreams and their goals. It always surprises me when I've talked to people that they don't set goals. Like, how do you know you're doing well if you don't have benchmarks? I guess if you don't set the goals, it's easy enough to just kind of float along, right? So we talked about all sorts of things with Sarah. We talked about Marvel movies and superpowers, meeting Donald Sutherland, the music of Eagles, the Beatles, growing up emo. We talked about superstitions, winning gold at the 2018 Commonwealth Games, gold at the 2019 Beach Volleyball World Championships, fourth at the Huntington Beach, the craziness of the pandemic and the Tokyo Olympics, standout memories of winning gold at the 22 Commonwealth Games.
I mean, winning.
Yes, of course.
Winning always helps. It was actually my first time in the UK.
No way.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that. Actually, at the closing ceremonies, Black Sabbath played, and I was like,
no, like the actual band?
Yes.
That's awesome.
They were all there.
Like Ozzy.
Ozzy Osbourne was there. He looked rough as hell. And he was like, it looked like he was gripping onto the mic stand to stop him falling over, but he was there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So all the musicians and stuff that grew up in Birmingham, they were either performing at the opening ceremony or the closing ceremony. And I thought that was amazing. Yeah. Like Duran's from Birmingham. Sure. Like, yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And how long are you there for then, for the Commonwealth Games?
We were probably there for 2 weeks, between 2 and 3 weeks.
Okay. So a fair amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you get to check out the sites a ton, or not really?
I mean, I like hopped around like watching different sports, and then I, explored the city a little bit, like the bull ring and like the canals and things like that. There's a lot of downtime.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. That's got to be one of the best things about what you do, hey? Is like checking out other parts of the world. And
I've been very fortunate that I've gotten to travel to a lot of countries through indoor. I was like living in different countries for like 9 months a year. So you really get to like get immersed in the culture. For beach volleyball, the goal is like to not be able to see anything, because then that means you're winning. If you have time to go check things out, it means you lost early. So yeah, I'm very lucky that I've gotten to see a lot of stuff.
And we'll take you from a Canadian beach volleyball Olympian to a repeat offender. The second appearance of IFBB pro Nicole Cerrini. She's a retired registered nurse. And since COVID, she's focused on fitness and training and helping people in other ways. You can check out her website, all sorts of really good things about balanced nutrition. And we talked a little bit about being an early riser and meditating in the morning and setting up the day's tone, living a balanced and healthy lifestyle, and how she relies on her nursing background to help people overall with fitness.
100% it does, yes. And actually, I've moved my career in a different direction. I'm a health coach director now, which has been an amazing opportunity for me. But yes, my nursing degree, it has helped me so much really relate to my clients more, especially when they have specific health conditions that I'm helping them with. Creating their meal plan can be different, especially with people with congestive heart failure. Other type 2 diabetes is a huge one. Giving that education and understanding what they need to eat to better their health overall. So, it has helped immensely.
No doubt you're going to want to use your knowledge to help other people, which is exactly what Nicole has done. We covered a good amount of fitness and nutrition this time around. We talked about processed foods. You really should try to get them out of your life. If it's got 30 ingredients, you may want to put her down and walk away. We talked about vaccines, cooking, wanting to be a veterinarian, staying motivated. Aliens came up, so did the Georgia Aquarium, and the fact that she now is a full-on IFBB pro, which is new since the last time that we had her on.
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing. I ended up winning my IFBB pro card in July at Universe. Yes, so that was incredible, like such an amazing feeling. And everything kind of happened pretty quick after that. 2 weeks after that, I competed in my first pro show at the Chicago Pro.
Wow.
So amazing, unreal experience. This past year has been incredible. And right now I am in a building season. So planning to compete again next year, but just building up some more muscle before that.
Toddcast Podcast sporting guest visits are powered by Sacred Meds, Canada's best online dispensary for cannabis, psilocybin, and psychedelics. Shop now at sacredmeds.co.
You're my lady, but you tell me you're my girl. You're my lady, but you tell me you're my girl. My mind gets set on you when I'm all alone and I'm feeling blue. I try to tell you, baby, that I want you in my world. And my mind works all the time when I'm here at home and you're on my mind. I try to tell you, baby, I need you in my world. You're good enough to be bad, and I waited a long time. You're good enough to be bad, and I waited a long time. Every day I get closer to you, feels like I am drowning my own seas of the passion through the walls. take it morning. Would you tell me you're my girl? Love you more than anyone in this whole world. Yeah. And my mind gets set on you when I'm all alone and I'm feeling blue. I tried to tell you, baby, that I want you in my world. And my mind works so on top when I'm here at home and you're on my mind. I tried to tell you, baby, I need you in my world. You're good enough to be bad. And I waited a long time, long time. You're good enough to be bad. And I waited a long time. Oh, every day I get closer to you. Feels like I am drowning my own tears of depression through the walls. And I hope that music can save your life. Every day I get closer to you. Feels like I am drowning my own tears of depression through the walls. And I hope that music can save your life. Hey, you're my lady. Would you tell me you're my girl?
Red Truck Beer. You never forget your first truck. Official beer of the Toddcast podcast.
And now, listen to this on the Toddcast podcast.
You'll likely best know actress Kate Miller from Hightown. She plays Amanda Shaw. Or maybe it's from starring in Blue Bloods. She plays Vivian. But you've seen her in so many other incredible roles over the years, like in The Trial of the Chicago 7, starring Sacha Baron Cohen, Sex and the City, Law and Order, The Emoji Movie, Young and the Restless, Dora the Explorer, Guild Wars. She's truly one of the best in the game. Speaking of, gamers will know her voice from Wasteland 2, Guild Wars 2, Destiny 2, Manhunt, remember that one? As an aside, by the way, Kate is married to John DiMaggio, Bender on Futurama, among other roles. Great to get Kate on the podcast. You'll love one of her career highlights, working with Carol Burnett on Broadway. Listen to this.
I auditioned and I got the gig, and it was my first Broadway audition. I was 25. This was another lifetime ago at this point, but it sort of gives you cred when you land a Broadway play with someone like that.
Absolutely. So
and I learned a lot, you know. I mean, this is the thing about New York City. Like the majority of people that are in show business, like I moved to LA and I married my husband late and I stayed here. They really celebrate celebrity here, and they don't care what kind of celebrity. In New York, everybody thinks of themselves, whether they're a celebrity or not, as a very blue collar kind of actor. It's a trade. You do it. Sometimes you hit big, sometimes you get a name, sometimes you know, but she started out there with, 5 roommates that were like Shirley MacLaine, and I can't remember who else, but she was just so real. Carol Burnett's so real and it was the first play she'd done since her Broadway debut when she was in her 20s, and she was in her 60s when we did this. I don't even know what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get at the fact that it sounds like, oh my God, that's so impressive, but it never felt like egotistical on anybody's part. It felt like cred, just straight up street cred. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm proud of it because I worked with someone that worked her way up like so many people that are true showbiz icons and legends have. They weren't somebody's kid, or they weren't famous from a reality TV show, or and all New York is still that way. You work, you do what comes down the pike.
Listen to This on the Toddcast podcast is brought to you by Tedco RV Supplies in Langley, an ICBC-approved repair shop. Visit them on Facebook and Twitter at Tedco RV Supplies.
Diplomatic, disenchanted. I just show your talk away. This keeps you safe. It won't get better than you deserve this. Just some circles for the future. Pull you away in some strange way. But I can't handle this. You're the blade in my back. Scandalous. Why spend your time tearing up your life? I'll be right here by your side. So tell your friends that they were right about me, and I'll say the same about you to mine. Told you I will wait for you, but you changed your focus. Broke away from all my habits, but nobody noticed. Not to change for you, but we outgrew each other. I can't waste another summer, so I guess it's time that I learn to change for myself. But I can't handle this. You're the blade in my back. Scandalous. Why spend your time tearing up your life? I'll be right here by your side. So tell your friends that they were right about me, and I'll say the same about you to mine. I'm glad we got to grow together before we grew apart. Kept your letters, think it's better that I stay far. The seeds you planted still grow. You used to call me home. Now the bed we used to share is where I sleep alone. I'm glad we got to grow together before we grew apart. Kept your letters, think it's better that I stay far. The seeds you planted still grow. You used to call me home. Now the bed we used to share is where I sleep alone.
They have got to be one of Vancouver's best new bands. Cloudsick, and a new song for them called Letters Kept. New Toddcast music, as mentioned earlier, they're opening up the night in 10 days on Friday, December 20th at Blue Light Studio. It's volume 33 of the Blue Light Sessions, Chief State and Cloudsick, 45-minute sets each. The interview, the performance, it's intimate, it's interactive, and it's only $20. A steal of a deal. $25 if you wait for the door. Doors are at 7, shows at 8-ish. Grab a ticket now before this one sells out, because it's looking like it will, or it probably should. You heard something new for the Boom Booms. It's called Good Enough to Be Bad, and that's got a great ring to it. Something truly blowing my mind that the Boom Booms are still around. Had you said that you would expect something new from them like even a couple of years ago, I would have said, yeah, good luck. Because really, truly, that band had broken up, or certainly they went on a hiatus. If you followed along, the band mentioned on social media that they were done. I remember reading that post that they were hanging it up, and I was just super bummed because they've always been one of my favorite Vancouver bands. It's so cool to see them trudging along. Go to their shows, by the way. If you hear of them playing anywhere near you in the neck of your woods, like, holy man, can they play. Speaking of live music, check out the concert calendar at toddhancock.ca for shows that we think you should go to in Vancouver and the area. If you're playing a show, if you're going to it, if it's indie, let me know about it. I'll get it up at the site, get some free advertising, maybe even play a song in the cast. We're always updating the site, by the way. Read our featured news. It's mostly music and entertainment. There's some sports time to time. That's all powered by the Home Dwell Group, longtime friends of the podcast. I've known them since literally grade 6. If you're buying a home or you're selling your home, contact them today through homedwellgroup.ca. homedwellgroup.ca. Okay, our final guests of this episode 351, this week's entertainment and lifestyle guests are powered by Thrive Management. They're an event staffing agency here in Canada, one of the biggest, one of the best. Models, brand ambassadors, we're talking operations and sales, TV, film, trade shows. They work in major cities across the country, and they can help you at your next event, big or small. Take it up a notch. Find out how they can help out through thrivemanagement.ca. So Generation X-pert Mandy Stans jumped to Zoom with us in early October, and let's face it, it's obvious that Gen X is the best generation. We're not baby boomers. We're not millennials. We knew analog to digital, life before the internet. We're the latchkey generation, the best music, the best TV shows, the best movies. We know the power of a good music video. They were game changers.
My dad used to record on the VCR so that we could watch it, because I think I was probably only 10 at that time. So, of course, I didn't stay up until 11 or whatever time the video show was on. So he would record it for us, and that was always a big deal. And so it's just so funny to think that, again, our access to that was so limited that we saw it once a week. And if you didn't record it or stay up to watch it, you just didn't see it again. You couldn't catch it later on YouTube like you could now. So, and yeah, I think your point about the videos is, have you watched any recent videos?
Why?
I haven't.
Are bands even making videos anymore? I don't know.
I think they do, but kind of low budget ones. Like I saw the Bon Jovi video. I can't remember what the title of the song, but I was like, wow, is this what videos have turned into? It was kind of like this low budget thing. I'm in a cornfield. I don't know. It was kind of embarrassing. But and to your point, back to those great concert videos, live video footage and stuff that bands made, they're just so great back in the day.
Yeah, like even a video like Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, where it almost tells the story as the song's unfolding. You don't
definitely
get that anymore. I think the bands are just like at that point of like, I'll release the music, I'll put it up on social media, I'll play some shows. And I don't think that they're concerned about music videos anymore. More that they'll do like, here's the lyric video as opposed to a music video.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about the return on investment in making a big budget video anymore. Like you said, back in the day, it was like an event. It was, you couldn't wait for the video to premiere because it was like a short film kind of thing. It's just not the same anymore. I guess the control that they have over that video is probably limited. I don't know. I'm just guessing. And so the point in putting so much money in behind it is just kind of pointless now.
Sure. Like, do you remember how big an event the Michael Jackson Thriller video was? Like, it was huge. Everybody in school was talking about it, right? Like, holy crap, it's 17 minutes long. Oh my God. I can't wait for it Friday night. Like, I can't wait.
What a video though, right?
Right? Remember Friday night, staying up late watching Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, or Van Halen Jump? Gen X had some of the more well-known world events as well. Watergate, the Cold War, economic recessions, the Space Shuttle Challenger blowing up on live TV. I remember that sitting in class. Mandy talked about 80s hair bands, Aerosmith, Aliens, binging Beef on Netflix, the rise of punk, grunge, alternative music, being devoted parents, the difference of kids today online, and how life was for the Gen X generation.
I think a lot of the time about my kids and how they spend a lot of time socializing online. And part of me realizes, well, that's the way it is now. And so to deprive them of that is depriving them of a social experience. But I wonder if they wish they could be have a childhood more like we did, where we were outside just actually playing and doing stuff all the time. I want that for them, but that's because I'm biased, because that was my experience. But and then, like I said, I don't think we can wish our own lives upon others, and they have their own experiences, right? So it's kind of
Sure. I bet you they think the same thing. Like, I wonder if my mom and my dad would rather have full internet and everything else. Like, and the answer is no. I don't.
That's right. Like, my daughter will say things to me like, "Oh, I had to call the pharmacy today like a pioneer, instead of just going online." And
yeah.
like, no, that's pioneer, but I hear what you're saying.
Take you from a Gen X expert to an actress named Cybil Lake, who was a guest in mid-November. We were asked if we'd want to have her on as a guest, as she was currently working on her half-hour dramedy series called Malibu Mother of Two, and we've worked with this PR company a handful of times over the years. Cybil's series is inspired by her personal journey, moving from New York to LA. It's not completely her journey, but for the most part, it's there. You'll love how she explains the steps needed to create something like this and then release it.
Okay, so, SAG had an actor strike. So I did a lot of writing then. And I had a pilot and I had this idea. So I started writing all of season 1. And then I thought, I need to shoot something, because this could be, I could maybe, if I was lucky, I could sell this to somebody. It's all, good fortune, shining on you. But what I really wanted to do as an actor is I wanted to write this for myself and populate the cast with larger name actors than myself. So that was kind of the big goal. And I think that's a lot of actors' goals when they create content, particularly a TV show, and particularly something that's so close to home. I mean, I could and did, play this role well. So, I knew this was like, okay, this was definitely in my wheelhouse, So I shot a short based on the pilot to give just sort of a feel. And now I attracted some interest, and now we're going around and now we're packaging it and got some interest. So that's exciting.
That's not necessarily that you need to get big names. You just need to get people that are really good actors.
Yep, that's right. And investors and a production company. Sure. This would probably be the tone, the theme the themes. It would probably be on a streamer. But I mean, everything's practically
everybody. Yeah, like it. Yeah. I mean, I know that some actors and some filmmakers and stuff we've talked over the years of, they kind of like, you don't want to go right to Netflix. You don't want to go right. It's like, why not? Who cares? That's where everybody is.
Has shifted, right? The dream is
totally. It's like weird to like, what? You have a theater release? What?
Like, so crazy. Everyone has to get out of their pajamas and go.
Yeah, totally. Right. Like, what? No, I'm not. No, I'm not paying $12 for popcorn. It's 30 cents in my kitchen.
I know. Yeah. I know. When I occasionally go to meet like theaters and movies, it's so crazy, because I'm like, I used to do this all the time.
Super interesting, hey? Get a bit of an inside scoop on how things are made, the creation, finding support, bringing it to life. You'll know Cybil from a bunch of stuff, most notably The Blacklist on NBC, The Following on Fox, Girls on HBO, just to name a few. Her new series is gaining momentum. Quarterfinalist in the 2024 Table Read My Screenplay competition, finalist in the Palm Springs International Trailer Contest, Silver Award winner at the Independent Short Awards in Los Angeles, and Best TV Pilot and Best Actress wins at the Independent Short Awards in LA. Listen to what Cybil says about one career highlight. Can she do it? It's an impossible question when you think about it.
What just came to mind? So I think it's important to say, I wrote and directed and acted in this film, Central Park Dark, with Tom Sizemore. And
okay. Oh, cool.
God rest his soul. When we were filming, I had a moment. We had a powerful emotional scene. And for, as an actor, or to speak for myself, like, I was pretty nervous, like, because if I wasn't going to do a good job with this scene, and there's things like this in every movie, every story. It's like, if I didn't really do a good job with this, it had
unbelievable.
Yeah, that had to be good. There's a lot of scenes that are easy, you know, you're walking or something, you know, you're looking at a book or something, you know, it's like pretty easy compared to some things, you know. And we were on set, and I really felt it, and I felt like I definitely felt like I did a good job, and I delivered. And that's very I'm really hard on myself, so there's not a lot of times when I actually feel that way. It was so satisfying, you know, to really feel that. And yeah, that was one of them. And also when I sold the film, you know, and it's on Amazon, to High Octane Pictures, that was a real moment. But like everything in life, you know, you think I remember I admired filmmakers who'd had their features distributed, right? But then get that, it's like, it's just one more thing. Just like when I wanted to have children, now it's like, now I have new problems. You know? It's like, that is life. It's always like a different, like I'm always moving the finish line. And in fact, I always want to try to be like, I've done these things. I've arrived. I've actually achieved some of these things that I wanted, you know, but life moves so fast. It's really important to take that time and be like, look where I am. You know?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Like 100%. And then I also like what you said about, you know, constantly moving it's like set goals for yourself. How do you know if you're doing all right if you're not picking off those like milestone markers?
I know. But it's like, I barely give them acknowledgement. Like I finished writing the season, and then it was like jumping into, you know, trying to make more meetings, you know, and it's just like, I've been trying to be like, you are going to slow down and you're going to concentrate, you know, on enjoying this, that you've arrived here. You know, I remember there was a time I really wanted to move. There were different parts in, like when I was in New York, I really wanted to move to LA. I'm here. Like all, even big and little things, you know?
And from a Hollywood actress to the founder of the Twisted Recovery Experience, Kristina Krajewski was a guest in mid-November as well. Here's a grinder. Twisted Recovery, addiction recovery with a twist, but she's a master stylist at the Kennedy Space Center, a subcontractor at SpaceX. I mean, truly keeping busy. Let's focus on one of the areas in her life and the concept of the Twisted Recovery Experience.
This show is about the sober person and the addict coming to solutions. None of this doom and gloom, get in the room, you're nothing, you're no one. There is a time for that. Then
have you picked a name? Have you guys decided on what you're going to call this show?
Twisted Recovery Experience.
Okay.
So it's magic, music, comedy. So we're going to get to the point. I'm showing a journey, and like I really go fast, but I'm taking step by step. You know, I'm doing construction cleaning at 54, and I'm like, I'm not going to go out with just some guy so he takes care of me. I see a lot of ladies do this. I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. Yeah. And so if I did not have my daughter, I would still be way down the ladder with rides and what have you. And so Twisted Recovery Experience, what we're going to do with that, music is medication. If you're in recovery, you'll see the RX on my emblem. And my daughter drew the sorry, I'm tired from work. The backdrop for the show. Drawback. And so the backdrop for the show. So she did that on the iPad. And so we got 286 million homes plus their contents in 85 countries. That's our first network. So wow. That's and I'm still I'm working on getting my license transferred from Delaware. I just said, I'm going to do this for myself. I have no one to rely on but myself. And what is going to make me feel of self-worth? I've always been an entrepreneur. I said, we got to help these other ones that this happened to. This is a trickle-down theory that avalanches that you don't even know. Like, what the hell? What the fuck? Whoa. You know what I mean? Like, shit. Like, what the hell is going on? My husband's going. That's coming out with the what happened there. And, you know, he was a wonderful husband when I was married. It wasn't that it was like this man instantly became, it was addiction. And this is from doctors. And, you know, I don't know how they sleep at night, lots of them, knowing that what they've done to so many families.
Yeah, truly, Kristina's doing great things with Twisted Recovery. Expect to hear a lot about them in 2025 as they've teamed up with the Now Network, an absolutely massive hookup in the U.S. She's given back, talking about her own addictions in the full interview. She's sober. It's time to help out.
Everybody's got a story, but this is, you don't see it, Todd. You don't. see anybody. You just see the intervention of you're no good, or what happened to that person? Are they okay? You know, and that's how we threw it to the network, or I threw it to my fellow producer I chose. I said, we got to do something, because I would never ordinarily do this. This is not anybody, I'm sure, but me. That's not who I am, you know, and it ruined my marriage of 17 years. So I said, somebody's got to put their foot down. Somebody's got to get out here. Somebody's got to do something, talk, you know. Well, I'm a talker, so.
And I know a lot of people, like, even in myself, I guess, like I would like to think, like, if somebody were to become addicted to something, I would help them. I would step in. But a lot of people say that, and a lot of people don't do it, right?
It's the shame. I was raised, I'm eclectic. I hang with everyone, you know. Back in school, in high school, when you used to have smoking court, I hung with everyone. The freaks, I went, you know, through going to H-Hole and everybody. I would just bebop with my cigarette to everyone. So it took a village to raise me, and it's going to take a village to save me, for real, because holy, you know, you think you're going to ace it when you're in addiction. Not me. Yeah, okay.
Talkcast Podcast entertainment guest visits are powered by Thrive Management, an event staffing agency that provides staffing services across Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Ottawa, and all of BC. Find out more at thrivemanagement.ca.
To go steady, but I was trouble when I came around. 18, I wasn't ready. You needed a man who could settle down. I started moving like a rolling stone. Yeah, thought about you on the way home, but I still couldn't stay. You cried and I cried. We went our own way. Long down the night. Call it a blessing in disguise. Call it a curse if you want to. I know I took you by surprise. To tell you the truth, I didn't know what to do. I thought that maybe I could find myself, but turns out I probably could've used help. But I still couldn't stay. When you cried, I cried. We went our own way. Started moving like a rolling stone. Thought about you on the way home, but I still couldn't stay. You cried and I cried. We went our own way. We went our own way, yeah. Tough to do.
There's another gem in Vancouver's music scene. His name is Matt Storm, and I love that track. We Went Our Own Ways. Matt's an amazing performer. Played a podcast show with Ivan Hartle a couple of years back now. Both make it look effortless. Man, we really have some incredible players in our scene. Keep an ear to the ground. Matt's active and plays shows from time to time, and that's really where this kid shines. As we'll wind things down, this episode is done. A best of podcast looking back at some of our recent guests and highlights from their visits. Appreciate everyone taking the time to jump a Zoom and share some stories with us. Again, my name is Todd Hancock. Thank you so much for listening, and we're going to put this one to bed. Episode 351. If you like what you heard, please do tell your friends about us. It's a big way of how we grow, and we see it daily on social media, so thanks so much for that. Sharing and commenting, it's kind of, it's why I do what I do, to engage with you. We're part of the Realm.fm network. They're absolutely massive, Realm.fm. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen, I suppose. Comment and rate the podcast. Simple search of Toddcast Podcast. You can't miss us. Of course, a huge thanks to all of our excellent sponsors. You can find all sponsor websites at toddhancock.ca, the newly revamped and it's super, super mobile friendly now, if you didn't know that. toddhancock.ca. If you'd like to sponsor the podcast with your business, you can for as little as $10 a day. Contact info is at the homepage. If you help us find a sponsor, P.S., we will give you a commission. What? Like, not even kidding. Till next time, don't be an asshole. Nobody wants to be around that. Have fun, play hard, and most of all, believe in yourself.
You've been listening to the Toddcast podcast, powered by Citywide Mortgage Services, dedicated to helping you find the best mortgage rates. Available 7 days a week at citywidemortgage.ca.
Buffet brawlers, glory holes gone wrong, cannibalistic castration cabins, public poopers? These are just a few of the crazy topics you'll hear covered on Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the pettiest podcast around. Whether you need a break from all that murdery true crime stuff, or just enjoy hearing hilarious stories told in a unique way, I got what you need. I'm Leroy Luna, your fearless host / chauffeur. So come hop in my minivan and let's go for a ride. I promise you probably won't be disappointed. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically everywhere you consume podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th of the month, baby!
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart-Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast, Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's incredible Only One story. We talk to real people dealing with issues like infertility, the death of a loved one, human trafficking, and women who, fake it. Oh, and we want to be fair, so we talk to celebrities too. Emmy winners like actor John Cryer, supermodels like Amber Valletta, and rock stars like Ryan Dusick. Everyone is invited to share their Only One story with our listeners. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee you that Only One in the Room has a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone. Download Only One in the Room on Apple or Spotify today.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.